Landwise is a digital library, and we are collecting laws related to land rights and rights for families from around the world. And that's important because people need to know their rights, particularly women need to know their rights if they are going to be able to enforce them.
What are the challenges that women typically face in a situation where they don't have access to laws that actually are on the books?
So the most important thing is women need to know that they have rights, and laws on the books are often only in the capital city. So women in other parts of the country, including judges and lawyers, don't have access to those laws, so they can't even say specifically what women's rights are. So first, women have to know them, and then they have to be able to enforce them, which means they and people that are helping them need to know what the law says. They need to have access to the actual law.
How would the digital laws that you collect be used then in a real world situation, for instance? Can you give me an example?
So in some countries, and India is an example of that, women have rights. They have very solid rights to land when their husband dies, for example. But if a woman doesn't know that, she's likely to have her land taken from her by her in-laws because she's living with her in-laws, so land that she's worked on during the time of her marriage just is taken back to for her in-laws. And if she needed to fight that, she would have to first know that she had the right, and secondly, be able to prove that, and the law would help her do that.
So what's the funding actually going to be used for then, the funding that you raise?
So we need to move our library to another site.
Or online?
Online, sorry, yes. We need to move our library to another site online, and that will cost some money, but more importantly, we want to keep the library going. And we are running out of funds, and we need funds to keep updating the laws that we have and collecting new laws.
And this is a library really then that has a very strong real world impact on people's lives?
Yeah, it really does. Laws, family law, laws that affect families and things like inheritance and divorce and marriage are not available in many countries. And we feel like if they're not available, not only do the people themselves not have access, but projects that are going in and spending millions of dollars working on agricultural land, for example, wouldn't have access to these laws. They wouldn't know what women's rights were, and they wouldn't take that necessarily into account when they're working on projects. So it has a huge impact on women.
One last question. Why is it particularly important for women to have this security of being able to have access to the law, rather than, say, the male in the household?
Because when women have rights to land, they use the income from that land and the food from that land for their family, for education, for nutrition, and they are at much greater risk of losing their rights to land. So land for rural women is everything. It's how they earn their living, it's how they keep their family fed. And if at any time they can lose that right because of some action that their husband takes or the fact that he dies, then they are at huge risk for falling into even deeper poverty. And that's a big issue.